it's good, definitely, to be, getting some economic movement back and to have that sense of community that comes back when you do get to sit outside at a restaurant and have a beer and enjoy a meal and at least feel, the presence of other people, although, obviously farther away than they were before. All retail locations and restaurants, lodging, and certain personal services are going to be allowed to open up pursuant to some pretty notable strict, public health and personal health guidelines. And it's also really important that, especially now as we're entering this new phase of reopening, that everyone continue to practice physical distancing and wearing your masks and hand washing as recommended by the public health experts, because this reopening also increases the risk of the COVID-19 virus spreading. So we want to be careful that our numbers don't go the wrong way. Our numbers continue to go the right way, down. And we want to continue that trend. So everybody, please stay vigilant.
I don't know if you had a chance to see the Today Show this morning. That would have been Thursday, June 11th. But it was very interesting. They used the color red to designate states that the virus is peaking again. Now, California was one of those states, but the rest of the states seem to be, for the most part, below the Mason-Dixon line, which ironically are red states, which were eager to get back open. You're violating our rights by telling us to stay at home. And now, as expected, as the experts, Dr. Fauci and others said would happen, the numbers are on the rise again.
Yeah, lo and behold, our public health experts and our scientists, our medical community actually know what they're talking about. I didn't catch the Today Show this morning, but I'm glad to hear about it because the Senate was in formal session today. So we were voting. I was voting from home, as were most of my colleagues, which is a very new experience, but voting on a conference line, we could hear what was going on in the Senate chamber, and we passed a number of bills today. Which was very exciting. We now have, we've moved a step closer to being able to have a really full and robust formal session, particularly important in light of the fact that we'll be debating the elections bill next week, or at least next week at the time that we're recording this interview.
Good news to report, a bill that you filed regarding racial disparities in maternal health. Got a favorable report, he tried to say, out of the Healthcare Financing Committee.
Yeah, this bill, we all know that there is a heightened focus, long overdue, on racial inequity and injustice throughout our society, particularly focused in disparate impacts in law enforcement. But honestly, the inequity and the systemic racism permeates pretty much every facet, every aspect of our culture, of our society, of our government, of how we function. And maternal health is no exception. The likelihood of a woman of color dying during childbirth is 3 or 4 times higher than the likelihood of a white woman dying in childbirth. And that's just not okay. So this bill, there's still a tremendous amount of work to do. This bill is a really important first step. And it's one of many that I filed to advance the rights of birthing and pregnant people in the Commonwealth. Just another statistic to sort of throw at you and provide for our viewers. Only the United States, among all the developed nations in the world, only the United States continues to allow people giving birth to die in increasing numbers rather than decreasing numbers, right? We continue to see an increase in maternal mortality. And those outcomes are just so significantly worse for people of color. During the years 1978 to 2015, the risk of maternal death for people of color increased a whopping 238%. I mean, it's just phenomenal. So we have a lot of work to do, but I'm really thrilled that this bill is advanced. The Senate bill is with the Senate Rules Committee. The House bill is now with the House Ways and Means Committee. So we're one step closer to a floor vote. And again, I'm just thrilled and so proud to partner with Representative Liz Miranda and Chairwoman Kay Khan in the House to champion this effort and hopefully get this bill across the finish line.
Going off script a little here, but I read this in the it must have been yesterday's newspaper on June 10th, 1963, President John F. Kennedy signed into law, I forget the exact name of the law, but the Fair Wages Bill, so that you could no longer discriminate financially a woman from a man doing the same job. We all know how many years later how that turned out. And I have to wonder, the numbers rising in the US for deaths maternally, if that would be the case if it were men giving birth.
Yeah, it's a good question, Peter. I don't know. I don't know. I think honestly, the question goes to things that I and Congresswoman Presley and frankly a lot of women, and particularly women of color who hold elected office, have been saying for a very long time, which is that when you have more diverse people sitting at the table, the problems of the broad spectrum of society, of the people who make up our society, actually get addressed in a completely different way, right? So our legislature, for example, is still not even a third women. There are only 3 Black women total in the entire state legislature. There are 200 of us. So we have a diversity problem in elected office. And, it's part of why I've been working so hard on election reform broadly. It's part of why I've been working so hard specifically with regard to the voting by mail bill that we're going to take up in the Senate next week. And it's also why I championed ranked choice voting in the legislature this year. And I'm hopeful for that ballot initiative to come out in November, since the legislation did not advance. But we have a lot of work to do to achieve equity at the table, where many tables, and circular chambers, for example, where decisions are made.
And I understand, and you mentioned earlier the formal session today in the Senate.
Yeah.
Piece of legislation voted on, MBTA, everyone's punching bag, the piñata here.
Everybody's favorite topic, yeah. We voted on a pretty robust Chapter 90 bill that's funding for roads and bridges and other things, and it did include a provision to basically reauthorize the Fiscal Management and Control Board to manage and keep a sort of a watchdog and operational eye on the MBTA. And I'm really, really excited that the bill today actually put the voices of riders and municipalities through which the MBTA trains run on the board. The current iteration of the FMCB is made up of 5 people, and none of them represent the voices of riders. It's actually a bill that I filed, what feels like forever ago, early in the session, with Representative Maria Robinson from Framingham, and we specifically said we need to put the voices of riders on the board making the decision. Frankly, it's the same point that we were just talking about a few moments ago, right? The people who have broader experiences, who can bring that diversity to the tables where decisions are being made, changes the outcome of those decisions and better reflects the needs of the people who are living in the reality of the policy changes or lack thereof, from the state level, from the local level, from all the various levels of government. So I'm thrilled that makeup of the board is changing now, and that the voices of riders will continue to be centered. Sorry, go ahead.
You apparently are working from home.
I am, yep.
No pictures I'm seeing this week on the wall or anything like that, but
I tried to find a quiet room.
You are working from home, but it is important to note that you and your staff are still working for your constituents. I know, let me see if I get this right. People can call your office at 1-617-722-1555.
Bingo, you got it.
So people can get in touch with you that way. What are other ways that constituents can get a hold of you and your staff?
Absolutely. And we do check that voicemail several times throughout the day. You can also email me directly, becca.rausch@masenate.gov, and there's a host of information on my website, beccarauschma.com. If you add /COVID-19, you'll get right to the information specifically about the pandemic and the state level response. And if you're heading into a local election, you can put /VBM local, vote by mail local, and find out how you can request your absentee ballots, your mail-in ballot applications. We'll be updating that shortly with information about the primary and the general once we have that bill passed and laid before the governor. I expect that'll, we'll have the debate shortly. And then there'll probably be some differences between the House version and the Senate version. We'll work those out, and then we'll get the bill to the governor for his signature. So we continue to put resources up there. You can email us actually directly through the website, but better is to send the email directly to me, give us a call, and we are here. We also have virtual office hours that we hold on alternating Fridays. And you can sign up for our email updates that have been coming out weekly, but we're actually going to shift to alternating weeks so we can focus on the legislative work that's picking up again, and also focus on more specific and personalized constituent and municipal services in the district.
Speaking of alternating weeks, I'm happy to say that we are making progress here in the Commonwealth against COVID-19. I'm sad to say that as a result, I won't get a chance to talk to you every week, but for the time being, it will be alternating weeks, and then eventually probably once a month or so. But looking forward to talking to you. It would be on Thursday, June 25th.
I am always excited to talk to you, Peter. I will miss having these weekly conversations, but agree it's for a good reason. So I do look forward to talking with you again in 2 weeks, and of course you know how to reach me. So anytime, my friend.